to the UC Davis Arboretum Teaching Nursery.
Hi, it's Taylor from the UC Davis Arboretum Teaching Nursery. Today we're here to talk about one of my favorite shade plants, which is Hellebores, or Lenten roses. We'll really get into kind of what these are, what we've got to look forward to for the spring sales, and several of the different varieties that we have to offer. Some of the key benefits about Hellebores. This is a shade plant, so it's not going to be one that you want to plant out in the full sun. When this starts blooming, you know that spring is on its way. If you've got a spot in your yard next to the house, something that's really kind of dark and shady that you're having trouble getting other things to grow, that's a good place for a hellebore. You'll get some color, you'll get an evergreen plant there that will look good most of the year. It will require a little bit of maintenance, but we'll get towards that at the end of the segment. So we already know that there's not a lot of other plants blooming in January, and just noticing that there's 5 or 6 different bees kind of flitting around here actually looking for something to eat. It's cold, it's a great pollinator source for these beneficials in the wintertime. So what you see are these bountiful buds that are in here where there's just tons of them, so it really adds to the floral show that you get out of this. The flowers that you see in January are going to be the same flowers that you see in March. It's just going to be a different color. They'll fade sometimes to a darker color, sometimes they'll fade to a lighter color. I'm going to introduce you to maybe a different type that you've never seen before. This is part of the gold collection, which is Hellebores x Boulardier. This is a cross between Hellebores limitus and Hellebores niger. What we end up with is this super cool, like marbled leaf, deep dark evergreen leaves. These flowers that stand straight upright versus some of the other, like the regular orientalis that kind of do a nod. So this guy really shows off what he's got going on underneath here. The Hellebores Boulardier are going to bloom a little bit earlier, and I've got 3 different types from that collection. This one's Merlin. Merlin definitely has this little bit darker, almost a cranberry red. One of the things about Hellebores is that the flowers actually stay on here for a really long time, but they'll just fade out in color. Most of the time when you get to late March, April, what you're left with is kind of this faded green flower that's still sitting there by the time it actually falls off. The next one on our tour is Hellebores x Boulardier Snow Dance. You can see this one starts out, it's got a really nice kind of a creamy to a dusky rose look to it. These ones fade to almost a cinnamon color when they're done. This one's another one of the gold collection. This is Mahogany Snow. You can really see a nice succession of what its bloom time and fade is it starts out with this really nice creamy white with those pink stripes on the back of it. Fades to a little bit more green, more pink, and then it really kind of blasts out with this mahogany right about the end of it, right as these seeds in here are starting to form. The last one from the gold collection is Pink Frost. These were a little bit smaller when we planted them, so they're coming along as they will. Pink Frost is a really nice one. It starts out with these really deep pink buds, and when it fades, it ends up at this like deep burgundy red color. You'll really like these. The gold collection, the Hybridus x Boulardier, is going to appreciate a little more worked soil, a little more well drained, or perhaps a little more fertile. It's not going to love the heavy, dense clay soils that we've got sometimes around the houses, but it's also great in container. The gold collection looks great right now, first bloomer of the season. But don't overlook them at the sale, because they might be done blooming then, and what you'll be blown away with is the hybrids like Red Lady and Pickety Lady, which are in full bloom then. Our next stop on our Hellebore tour, we're going to do Hellebore Hybridus. So this Hybridus kind of covers a lot of different types of Hellebores. These are usually the ones that you're going to be familiar with. So these are the red flowering ones, the purple flowering ones, white, black, all sorts of different colors. You'll see some stripes and things. We won't have all of those, but I've got probably about 6 different types that you can pick from. So here's a more sun-tolerant variety of Hellebore. This is Hellebores argutifolius. This one is Pacific Frost. This is a 2005 award winner. One of the things that people love about it is these really speckled marbled leaves. Just a beautiful plant. White flower, It's not a full sun plant, but it can handle 4 or 5 good hours of sun during the day. Hellebores hybridus are superstars here in the valley because they absolutely love our heavy clay soils. I would check them every 2 weeks for water, but they might need it in the heat of summer once a week. So this is kind of what your hellebore is going to look like when you get into fall, and you'll see all of these old leaves that are coming off here really easily, and you can see all this new growth pushing its way right up through there. So when I see my hellebores looking like this, which is usually in the fall, this is a pretty good time to go out there and start cleaning them up. And so I'm just literally pulling these dead leaves right off of there. So just to recap with you, some of the things that you should remember from today's video. Hellebores are supposed to be planted in the shade. They're going to bloom really well where they've got protection from the afternoon sun. They're very cold hardy, down to USDA Zone 5. All hellebores are deer resistant. That doesn't mean they won't sample them if they're really hungry, but they are resistant to that. They're also not for human consumption. These are a toxic plant, so don't eat them. The last thing I wanted to cover is just a reminder on the soil types and how to water these things. The ones that we've talked about today, the Hellebores boulardii, those ones are less tolerant of heavy clay soils. So if you've got a nice conditioned planting area for these, or you want to put them into a container, that's a great idea. Hellebores hybridus or orientalis are going to be fantastic performers in heavy clay soil, plus very good bloomers.